I really do think that that's all that matters. Whether you want to say the game is pay to win, pay to progress, you know, pay to whatever, I think at the end of the day, the game is free, right? It's a free game. They have to make money somehow. And you can play the game entirely free, that's true. And I'm not saying that's a defense for pay to win, regardless. Like, I'm not saying that's a defense of, oh, well, you can farm it, so it's not pay to win. Like I mentioned earlier, just because you can farm something doesn't mean that you can't pay for an advantage. The reality is, if somebody plays this game with loads of money, they can obtain stuff faster. They can outright just buy frames. They can outright just, you know, you can practically buy everything. Like, I'm not saying you can buy everything, but you can buy most stuff. And to me, the biggest perk with money is simply being able to rush through like crafting, right? When you want to craft something, you get plat, you don't have to wait you don't have to wait for it to finish. But I've said this before, I'll say this again, my biggest gripe with the Warframe monetization is, one, having to wait for things to craft and being able to pay to skip, because that, to me, that's just a mobile, like, you know, mobile mechanic. And although I don't think it's that bad, and it's definitely tolerable, the game is good, so the game being so good kind of makes me overlook that that's something I dislike, because there's so much for me to do that it's like, oh, you know what, I've got to wait 3 days to craft it, it's fine, I have loads of other stuff to do regardless. And eventually it's got to the point where I am now, where I've got, you know, I've had 5 different frames crafting, and I'm getting them one day at a time. So I get the frame, I max it to 30, I make a build, and then the next day I've got another frame to you know, level up and repeat that process, while also farming for another frame and farming for another thing. So that's not the end of the world, but, you know, there is obviously some element of paying to win, paying the progress, whatever you want to call it, because, like people pointed out, I was MR2 and I had Dante, and it allowed me to speedrun content, because, in my opinion, Dante was just so strong. With very, very low basic mobs, I could just clear entire missions that I wasn't able to clear with Excalibur, or, you know, even Ember. Like, I would struggle, whereas with Dante, I just walked in, slash, done. So whether we want to say pay to win or pay to progress, there's definitely elements of it, but I stand by what I said, saying that it doesn't have that big of an effect. If you give the game a try and you play it for a decent amount of time, whether you spend money or not, I think you're still going to have a lot of fun. And if you are having a lot of fun, that might convince you to put some money into the game. That will honestly just make your gaming experience that little bit better. And if you're working or you're not playing a lot, then, you know, the issue with the crafting chat, it wouldn't matter. Like, if I didn't stream as long as I did, I don't think the crafting thing would matter. Like, if I was working a lot more hours, now I do work daily, but, like, let's say I didn't have as much time to play, waiting for the crafting time wouldn't even matter, because, oh, if I'm not going to play in 2 days, it doesn't matter. I'll just let it go for 2 days. So I guess it's, you know, it's a harmless way to make money at the end of the day. But it does suck sometimes when you finally crafted that prime, you finally got all the resources, and then you have to wait 72 hours. But you've got time to play right now, but you've got to wait 72 hours. That does suck. I will be honest, that sucks. No one wants that. No one likes that. That, you know, you got a shiny new toy you want to play with. That's a normal feeling. But as I said, the game is good. I'm not saying the game is bad. I don't think anyone here is saying the game is bad. Oh, there's a hotfix happening in 3 minutes. That's unfortunate. No one's saying the game is bad. I'm certainly not saying the game is bad. I think the game is good, and I think you should spend money on it. I think it's a great game. Give them your money. Hopefully they can make the game even better. The story aspect of this game is great. The combat aspect is great. The classes are great. The build system, like how you make your frames, it's so vast. It's almost overwhelming at times. And I think that will honestly excuse for some of the shady, you know, elements of microtransactions that are in this game. But I think we always have to remember that these games have to make money, and it could always be worse. This game could be so much more predatorial. They could have much worse microtransactions than what are currently in it. And I think we are generally kind of lucky that it isn't as bad as it could be. Like, this is nowhere near on the level as like a gacha game, for example. How you doing, Jess? How's your day going? The crafting issue is, the crafting issue is mainly a problem for new players and, you know, like I said, streaming. It can suck when I'm streaming and we've farmed something and I can't make it instantly, but at the same time, you know, I can put money into the game, so it's not a problem. But I can definitely see how someone that doesn't have money might find it upsetting that they have to wait 3 days. I can totally get behind that, and I think it's understandable, you know? I think it's completely understandable. My only other gripe with money is the Warframe spots and the weapon spots. That's my only other gripe. As the game is kind of designed for you to get as many frames as possible and many weapons as possible, I think it is stupid that it seems... Someone can correct me either in the future or right now, but the only way I've seen effectively to get weapon spots and frame spots is to buy them with plat. And again, I know the defense is, well, you can just farm it. You can just farm the plat. And again, yes, you could just farm the plat. But it generally sucks that, you know, you might want to go out and make a new frame and then you can't because, like, you can't claim it because you don't have space. If you don't have that plat, you then have to go off and spend however much time to try and get plat. Because you've got to remember, you're not guaranteed to sell anything for plat, right? You're not guaranteed to ever make plat through the marketplace. So you do have that bit of a gamble on, you know, I can sell this and just get the spots, but, you know, if you spend money, you're guaranteed them spots. So they're the two things that I find scummy. I think everything else is honestly fine. Like, for example, being able to buy a frame or buy a prime, like, if someone doesn't have all the time in the world to farm and they like the look of a frame, they really want to play it, but they don't have the time to farm it, then, you know, who the fuck cares if they buy it? You know, like, who cares? I don't think it's that big of a problem, personally. Like, it's not a, like you say, it is a PvE game, and whether you see that as winning or not, it still doesn't really matter. You know, like, if that's how they're having fun and they want to spend their money, let them. It's like that guy that told me to make the necromech and kind of, like, made me feel bad for buying it. You know, it's like, well, I had to, it took me, like, 6 days. Oh, that's kind of the point. I didn't want to spend that much time to farm it, so I had the option to buy it and I bought it. You know, and I don't regret buying it. If I had to make that choice 10 times, I would I would buy it every single time, and I don't regret, you know, like, I don't have regrets have regrets about that. And yeah, I know some people got it for free, like back when there was a certain quest, but I generally do think that it's one of them things where if you think it's pay to win or pay to progress, it shouldn't really matter. Whether someone spends money or not, it's not going to affect your game. You can play the game how you want. And in my honest to God opinion, the game is just so good that I don't think that whether the game is pay to win or not should really have an effect on if you want to play the game. It should just be, do you enjoy the game? And that's where it is. So, yeah, I know to stay in the game, Puff. You see that big red thing? It's literally telling me to stay in the mission. But yeah, that's my thought. Let me know what you guys think of game being pay to win, or, you know, whether it's just outright not pay to win, pay to progress, whatever we want to call it.